Joining us now live to provide some insight into today's tragedy, we're now joined by Sheryl Sunia.
Sheryl spent 29 years with the Honolulu Police Department and is now the Department Chair of Criminal Justice at Hawaii Pacific University. She was also the police negotiator following the 1999 Xerox mass shooting in Honolulu. Sheryl, thank you so much for joining us. As a former negotiator and a police detective, what was your initial reaction to today's shooting?
It's devastating. It's devastating for all of society, and especially with one more day of school. Children are going to walk away and learn about this incident, and there's going to be no opportunity of healing and embracing that your school is a safe place, because they're going to be home for the summer, and then in months' time, they have to go back into a situation where something serious like this has happened.
And, you know, like we just heard, photos of guns were actually posted to a social media page that was linked to the gunman just 3 days ago. What kinds of red flags should we be looking out for to help prevent these types of situations moving forward? People,
when you're posting guns on social media, you're bragging. You want people to see what you have. And guns should be a personal thing. It should be secured, it should be put away. But if you're flaunting it on social media, you're sending a message. You're trying to instill fear in people. Look what I have. Look what I have access to. And so people really need to be aware of what they're looking at on social media.
Some people are calling for stricter background checks. Could that have prevented this shooting today?
This shooter was 18 years old. And so a background check, unless his juvenile record is unsealed, most likely would not have reflected anything. My understanding, a couple weeks ago, he ordered the gun when he turned 18. So if you're looking for somebody who's been arrested as an adult, it's not going to show up in this shooter's background check.
So in your opinion, what can be done to prevent this from moving forward?
I think we really got to look and be aware of what's transpiring online. We know that there's predators online who chase after our children, but we also know that there's people out there that aren't afraid to sell guns and weapons to people not knowing anything about the person that they're selling to. I know there's advocates on both sides of the story, but you could portray to be somebody that you're not and purchasing a gun online. So I really think that there needs to be some type of monitoring to see just how many of these guns are being sold online.
Now, you negotiated with the man who killed 7 people back in 1999. Can you take us into the mindset of a person who would be willing to do something like this?
You know, he wasn't your average criminal, but he was upset. He knew that that meeting that day was about him, and he had instilled that people were going to make fun of him. And so this had been building up for years with Xerox, and the corporation knew about some of the past events, and they tried to deal with it within the company. And there are other methods, restraining orders against somebody who commits a crime. If they make a threat against you, you can go in as long as the person has a restraining order against them. We can take their guns and ammunition away legally. If that would have been done by one of the coworkers that he had a problem with, Uesugi would not have had control of all of his weapons and ammunition at that time.
And, you know, before we wrap up, just want to ask you, you know, if you're in this type of situation, God forbid, what are you supposed to do?
That's a $1 million question. The circumstances all prevail, but anybody and all of us should be aware of our surroundings. If you go into a location, if you see something that doesn't feel right, just be aware of it. Things are different now. Times are different. violence on TV, violence in the streets, violence on social media. It's all around us, and it's portrayed that it happens so often because we see it so much on the news and in newspapers. So just really having a plan. If something did happen, have a plan.
Well, hopefully we'll never have to face that situation in real life. But
I agree. But we really need to talk to our children about this one, because I think that a lot of children are going to build up anxiety, especially when it comes to time to go back to school.
Okay, thank you so much, Sheryl Sunia, for your insight into today's tragic shooting.
Thank you so much.